Hey everyone, welcome back to JRC TV and the Learn It, Live It, Give It podcast. We appreciate you joining us. We have a very special guest today, Miss Amber Mack. She is an entrepreneur, author, all-around badass mom and wife, an awesome friend of ours, and she even let us crash in her guest room one time when we had to be up super early in the morning to make the news down the road from one of her houses. And thank you for being with us, here to discuss your newest book, which is titled How to Outsmart Your Kids Online. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's outsmarting your kids online. So you got it. Close. That's close.
Kids online. I'm really excited to talk to you about this. As you know, we have a puppy child, so we're not quite at the stage of monitoring his online usage. But you yourself, you have a little one. How's he doing?
He's doing great. He just turned 7, believe it or not. I know you guys met him. He's a big fan of yours because you brought Lego. So that was a hit.
That's how we win the game with those little ones.
It's so smart.
So I'd love to know. So first off, for people who are just getting introduced to you for the very first time, give us a little bit about your background, your story. We met years ago.
Yeah.
Holy. Was it? I'm trying to think of what year that was.
I don't know.
2009. I think you were speaking at one of Dad's events about a product you guys were collaborating on, or they had hired you to be part of.
Yep.
I think that was 2009.
It probably makes sense. The years are all blending together, right?
That's nuts. And we've been friends and connected in different ways, shapes, and forms. But I know you had an awesome book that originally came out and went, did circles around the world, just helping people with social media.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, my background really is as an entrepreneur. So I've always been very entrepreneurial since I was a little kid. And my parents used to manage real estate, like commercial shopping centers, for example. And I would go in the morning and I would have to clean the parking lots and pick up garbage when I was like 8 years old before I went to school. So I don't know why, but that was really exciting for me. So all my life, I've really just wanted to run my own business. So probably about 12 years ago, I stepped out of having a full-time job and started a business with my brother, and it just we've never turned back. And I work in the social media marketing space. I do a lot of keynote speaking. You're right, I wrote a book in 2010 that did well on social media marketing. And then over the years, and I'm sure you've seen this, as social media has evolved, and you see young kids using social media, many times their parents don't really know what the kids are doing, and the kids are smarter than the parents. So I think this book is really to get the parents to kind of take control of that again.
Very cool. I remember sitting at my grandpa's house one time, and one of my nieces came over, and my grandpa was having trouble probably 3 weeks earlier trying to figure out how to work the DVD player. And our little niece came over. She grabbed the DVD, walked over, hit, open, and this is old school, but they put the DVD in, hit play, and my grandpa was sitting there like scratching his head thinking, what the heck just happened? and I think that scenario is starting to unfold for a lot of parents right now because of the speed at which the apps, the digitization and social media is going. I hear stuff. I'm connected to young friends, and you see apps they're using and secret things they're using to hide pictures and screen certain pages so that parents don't know what they're actually watching. It's really, really fascinating. So how did this come about? Obviously your little one, and I remember we were at your house and he was spending hours combing through all kinds of stuff. I was amazed at how well he did, but it would seem right since his mom and dad are into it.
Yeah. So, it's kind of an interesting story. So last summer, I became a really big fan of this show, Mr. Robot, which is a hacking series on USA Network. And I just love the show. And then I connected with someone on Twitter who was one of the tech advisors on the show. His name is Michael Bizel. And he had spent years with the FBI doing cybercrime investigations, now does security workshops. And he's really immersed in that space and really understands what's happening from a kind of a law enforcement enforcement perspective and how kids are getting in trouble and some of the dangers. And we met up in Toronto last year and we had dinner and we started talking. And even though, I go out and I promote social media in terms of how to use it, he goes out and he talks about how law enforcement can protect people when it comes to social media and dealing with certain cases where there's harassment and a lot of the dangers that take place. We both said that the question that we get asked the most at events is by parents who say, hey, my kid's doing this and how do I protect them and what do I do? And we realized that there was just a big need in this space for a book to educate not just kids, but parents and families about how to stay safe and how to protect their privacy and security. I mean, to be honest with you, I think we all can kind of use that. Even as we go out and promote ourselves, we sometimes go one step too far and we shared something we know, oh, I shouldn't have put that out there, right?
I think the most famous version in the young hip hop space, I think DJ Khalif Snapchatted his credit card.
Oh no.
Thinking like as a haha who no one would ever do anything, but I think literally thousands of people bought stuff using his credit card online.
Yeah, you know what, Jairek? It's really funny because there's also, I don't remember their name, but it's a celebrity who lives in Hollywood who wrote a book, and she had taken an Instagram photo of her dog, and her dog had dog tags that had her phone number on it, which made kind of sense, and she started getting phone calls. So we know, one of the things they say on Instagram when you go to their site and they talk about how to stay safe, they say, consider the whole picture. Sometimes we're like, oh, this is a great picture. We don't notice that it has your house number in the photo or your dog tags or whatever it might be.
Sure, that's interesting. And going down this route, what are the most common mistakes that are happening that are putting little ones at risk? So you have a 12, 14-year-old who's online doing their thing, having fun. What are the most common things they face that parents really don't even notice, but are actually really dangerous and or something they need to watch out for?
Yeah, I think there's a few different things. I think for the most part, one of the things is considering that visual social media is so big right now, is that taking pictures, live streaming video content, whether it's on Periscope or Facebook Live, is sometimes, kids get really excited about that and they forget about what type of information they could be sharing. So I think because social has become so spontaneous, there is a concern there that you want to tell kids, just sit back before you actually go live or take that photo and think about what you're doing. But also, I think when it comes to privacy settings, if you look at Facebook, and we dive into this a lot in the book, we talk about how even though you think some of your content is protected, it is in fact public information that Facebook decides just not to show, but in fact you can use tools to see that it is publicly available for someone if they want to look into it. So it really becomes around the information of privacy, how easy it is for people to have conversations anonymously online. And at the end of the day, I think education is the number one thing that parents can do when it comes to their kids, and understand what tools they're using. Like, you can't just throw up your hands and say, hey, you know what? Oh, my kid's on Snapchat. I don't care, whatever they're doing. I'm not going to learn about it. You have to learn about it, right?
Absolutely. I remember I'll give you a scary story. It was an accident. Luckily, my wife forgave me. But one of our cousins, I was trying to follow them on Snapchat, and I just typed in their name, and I thought it was them. So I followed it. And lo and behold, a couple days later, there were some very risque pictures posted without a head. So I was like, oh my goodness. Now, I didn't want to throw a family member under the bus because I'm like, oh geez, like which mom's going to whack them over the head? But at the same time, I'm like, that's not good. So I passed it to my wife, and she was like, oh, and her thing was, it's just a body. It's just a body. I was like, listen, I'm not staring at something here. I'm just saying I thought I was following a cousin, and apparently this is not a cousin. Actually, I thought it was them. And luckily, I mixed up names, and it wasn't them. They're not the same size and shape and height and that jazz. And she was like, nope, that's not them. And we deleted this account. But it's amazing what people are willing to post in a place that they think is going to disappear in 10 seconds. I think there's something they don't realize that you might be able to touch on. When you post something, even if you took it back down, on most of these servers, on most of these programs, even though they say they delete it, is it true that this stuff can really stick a long time and a lot longer than people imagine?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what people don't think about. And this has been part of the issue with the rise of ephemeral messaging or disappearing social media like Snapchat and other tools out there. The reality is that people, like you said, they think that it disappears forever, but it's so easy to just simply screenshot it or take a photo of it or record video using another device of what you're looking at. And so we sometimes feel safe. Oh, this is a private tool. Well, nothing is private. You know what's private, Jairek? If you and I go into a room and we close the door and there's no one in the house and we have a conversation, and that's about it.
Absolutely. And that's so fascinating because I've heard it said you got to think of, at some point, people used to do crazy stuff as teenagers and have a lot of fun. I think at every point teenagers do this. It's in their life. But at one point there wasn't a recording device that was capturing every single moment of it for eternity. And you got to think back, whatever stage of life you're at as a parent, think back to the things you did. And if they were captured and posted and reposted for the rest of your life, it's going to be a fascinating older generation as these young ones get there. But like you said, education, how do they go about educating? Obviously, reading the book, learning more about what's going on and how to talk to it. I haven't grabbed the copy yet, but I'm guessing in the book you talk about maybe types of conversations to have or ways to go about those. Because that can be a little tricky, I'm guessing.
Yeah, what's really interesting about that piece is because I think with Michael Bizzell, we can talk about how the security side of things and how to protect yourself and find information. I can talk about the new technology trends as far as what's coming down the pipeline, what should you be aware of. But we really felt like that piece was missing. And so we interviewed a family therapist who came in, and we did extensive interviews with her where she talked about how to have conversations with your kids when that needs to happen. And she said, a lot of parents they'll start a conversation and they'll just fly off the handle. They're like, I saw that you did this and I don't like it. And, they go to these extreme measures to get their child to change, but it just makes their child shut down. So a lot of what she talks about is coming to it from a point of, I saw that you posted this. It makes me uncomfortable. How does it make you feel? Let's have this conversation. And really just getting control of the interactions you have with your child around technology so that they don't shut down, so that they don't start using, services that they lock you out of entirely and they won't communicate with you. So she has a lot of great advice in the book.
That's awesome. I had posted the fact that we were going to chat, and someone posted something online that I have my own opinion on, which, if it's okay, I'd like to share.
Yeah.
But they said, if I could bring this up real quick, they were saying I said, do you have any questions about, outsmarting your children online and really understanding the whole paradigm of what's going on? And this person had written back, no question, but I'll leave their name out, but no question, but a comment. It's called love. The more you love your children feel from you, the less they will have to hide things from you. So you won't need another trick to outsmart them. It's the ultimate trick. They don't see it coming, can't resist it, and have no defense against it. If I could share my 2 cents first, and I'd love your opinion as well.
Yeah.
I have to say, I have a mom who had one of the biggest hearts in the world and gave me more love for the most anything ridiculous stuff that I ever did. And there was never a doubt of if I would be loved or not by my mom. And even with the magical, incredible abundance of love that I received constantly for everything that ever happened, even the bad stuff, there was still a part of me as a kid that there's some stuff I was up to that I didn't want mom to know. Sorry, mom. But I don't believe that's necessarily the answer. I think that might be a trap that some parents fall into, which is if I just love them and trust them enough, they'll always do the right thing.
Yeah, I could not agree more. So I'll share my own history, which maybe is similar to yours in some ways. So same sort of thing. I had mom and dad who absolutely loved me to pieces. We're always supportive. We're always present. We're always available to me. When I was 15 years old, I kind of got in with a bad crowd and I started doing some things that I probably shouldn't have been doing. And my parents started to worry, and they were still there. And I kept a diary, and I used to write everything in my diary. Well, my mom was so concerned that she found my diary. She found out that I was up to stuff I shouldn't have been up to. And she proceeded to get very involved in my life. She went to the school, to teachers, to other parents. And literally for 2 years, she was on me and she was involved. And I can honestly say, because she read my diary, she probably close to saved my life, because I would have been just down a path where, some parents who just said, oh, I'm just going to leave them and they'll figure it out along the way, I would have gotten in way more trouble. So to me, I think as much as we say, oh, it's just about love, yes, that's a massive part of it. But I think also when it comes to our children, there are some times that you do need to intervene and you do need to parent. And that means you do need to get involved to keep them safe, because there are so many dangers. And I don't think that we can, just throw up our hands and say, oh, well, we're not respecting their privacy. We shouldn't have to, outsmart them or do this. Well, we do, because if you read the news, you know how much trouble kids can get in online. And I think we need to insert ourselves into a more important role when it comes to technology decisions in the home.
Awesome. 2 questions. One, I had a friend a long time ago. I went to one of his events and he was speaking. And part of the reason why he worked so hard in his life to do extremely well, because he wanted to make sure he had a house that was so cool that all the kids would always want to be at his house so he could monitor them closely at all times. And I was like, that's one drive as a parent to be successful in life.
Oh, yeah.
It was interesting. But the question of monitoring or getting in touch, education, so having those conversations, getting in contact, really connecting with them and understanding that piece. But the other piece of how do you become part of that world where it becomes okay? I know on Instagram there's some pretty hilarious conversations where a young girl in New York started Instagramming her conversations with her mom.
Yeah.
And her mom would send her, if she didn't pick up the phone, she'd send her 52 texts by like 7:30 a.m. And it turned into this hilarious thing. They wrote a book about it. But her mom was successfully able to get involved with her life on social media, and now it's accepted, it's fun, they have fun together, they wrote a book together, they're all over. And this is a little bit younger or a little bit older stage of life, but
Sure.
at a younger stage, how can a parent start to get involved where their children actually see it as cool and fun and, oh, look what my dad or mom's up to and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's an awesome strategy. So I'll tell you a couple of super quick stories. I spoke at an event a few years ago, and there was a mom there who wanted to engage with her kids who were on Facebook at a very young age. Her kids didn't want to be friends with her on Facebook, so she decided that she would go onto Facebook as the family dog, and she would take on this really big persona as their dog. I believe the dog's name was Marley, and Marley was going to be like the coolest dog on Facebook. So she ran this Facebook account. Not only did the daughter want to be friends with Marley, her dog, but all the friends in the neighborhood did. So all of a sudden, this mom had access pretty much to everything that was happening with the kids. They felt comfortable talking with Marley because Marley wasn't like an adult, but instead a dog. So a very creative way to deal with it. The second thing I'll mention is a friend of mine is a Vine celebrity. His name is Stuart Reynolds. He goes by Brittle Star. He and his two teenage sons are really active on Vine, and they make Vines together. They're very involved, so they're a very tight family on Vine. And I just think it's such a great approach to get involved with helping your child, create. Like, we make YouTube videos with Connor that never go up on YouTube. We just make YouTube videos in our little studio so that he can practice what it's like being on camera. And when the time is appropriate, hopefully we can do that as a family. So again, you see that the key there is that, hey, you know what? Technology is not a babysitter. It's something that should help your family to create, to educate them. And the more you're involved, the better it can be.
Very, very cool. Well, thank you for sharing all this with us. It's awesome. Where can people go to grab the book? Where's the best place?
Sure. Yeah. So probably the best place is just go to my website at ambermac.com, and there are links to buy the book. It's called Outsmarting Your Kids Online. We have an ebook version for about $10. The print version is $20. We self-published. It was my first time doing this, and I know you guys have done this. Your book was self-published. Is that right? Or
kind of. We have a publisher who got it from us, but they're on a self-publishing platform, which is
that's cool. Well, I just will say, like, what a phenomenal experience, because we can update the book, whenever we want to, add in new technology that grows in popularity. So a really great experience for us. So you can find it on Amazon, and it was so fun to see you, as always.
Well, thank you for everyone listening in. Thank you for tuning in to another episode. If you're curious or have questions or want to get involved in this topic, obviously go grab her book, read, educate yourself, get involved with your children online. And I'm guessing on your website, they can also contact you if they have any questions or want you out at their event or school or something like that to help come and promote and educate.
Absolutely. So pretty easy to find me online, and please feel free to send me an email if you have any questions about the book or anything else, just at ambermac.com.
Well, thank you for tuning in to another episode. Amber, thank you for joining us, and I will see you all tomorrow.